A lot of good R&B songs didn't make, well, they didn't make it to the playlist of a lot of what was called CHR, contemporary hit radio stations back in the 80s. And on my fantasy playlist, I look for any excuse to put a good R&B song on my fantasy playlist, and usually have a whole bunch of them on there. A lot more liberal in attitude, I guess, on the R&B, particularly some of the hip hop, early hip hop records, than, of course, the conventional music directors. But then it is just a fancy playlist of August 10th, 1985, and at number 36, up three from 39, Loose Ends, Hanging on a String. Boy, that brings back some memories. Love that thick beat to it, and the somewhat ethereal singing on this record too. Really nice R&B record, and I just found out, I didn't know this, they're from England. Loose Ends, they were from England, from London, a trio. It was Carl McIntosh, Jane Eugene, and Steve Nickel. Steve Nickel, the founder and writer for Loose Ends. They signed, based in London, they signed with Virgin Records in 1981. Their first album was written by two fellows who were in a famous band in England back in the 70s. It was Chris and Eddie Amu. They were in a band called The Real Thing, a successful R&B band in England back in the 70s, had a number of hit records on the British singles charts back in the 70s, and they wrote their first album. The second album by Loose Ends, So Where Are You, the name of their second album, featuring Hanging on a String, which was written by the group members. And by the way, Steve Nichols, he toured with the Jam. Remember the Jam? The group The Jam? He toured with them in 1982 as a trumpet player, trombone, trumpet, and keyboard player, while he was doing his thing with Loose Ends, Hanging on a String. Hanging on a String did well in England, went to number 13 in England, went to number 1 R&B here in the States. As a matter of fact, that record, Loose Ends, Hanging on a String, the first number 1 R&B hit in America done by a British band. Tell you what, that the British got to give it to the British. You got to give it to them. They incorporate our culture, they incorporate our music, and they give it right back at us. And sometimes you don't even know the difference. For all you know, they might have been from Detroit. I thought maybe they were from Detroit or Los Angeles, but no, they're from London. It was like The Look of Love by ABC. I thought those guys, I thought they were just a great funk band from Detroit or maybe Miami or New York, but no, they were white guys from England. But anyway, Loose Ends, Hanging on a String. And let's see, I think I've already gone into the chart position. Only went as high as number 43 here in the States on Billboard's Hot 100. Number 1 R&B, but number 43. I, well, what can I say? Some of these songs should have done a lot better. This should have been a bigger hit. Well, it's at number 36 on my fantasy playlist and moving up the week of August 10th, 1985, fantasy playlist.